I know we've been talking about it a lot this week, but this will be the last LEGO Marvel CMF video, I promise. I'm sure some of you guys are getting sick of these videos, but as you guys know, as good as this CMF series is, I do have my issues with it, and how I would like to see them improved and fixed in a potential series too. But before we go ahead and get into that, I did want to give a really quick reminder that the giveaway for $100 worth of your choice of LEGO sets is still going on, so you could actually win a bunch of these LEGO Marvel CMF minifigures. All you gotta do to enter is make sure you are subscribed, follow that link in the description, and then sign in with your YouTube account. That's it, super simple and 100% free. Anyways, back to the topic at hand here. So right off the bat, I did want to get it out there that there really isn't any rumors or news about a Series 2 based on the same LEGO Marvel CMF series. In fact, when you look at the packaging of this CMF series, it doesn't even say Series 1. But you know what, I'm optimistic. Hopefully it sells really well and LEGO continues it in the future. And with that, I would like to see a bunch of fixes or changes in that second series. Okay, so obviously there are a whole bunch of different characters from the MCU that I'd like to see in minifigure form in a brand new Marvel CMF series. But assuming this series of Marvel minifigures has a Series 2, I'm going to assume that series is also based off the Disney Plus shows, which means we are going to be limiting the minifigures to characters that have already appeared in shows or will be appearing in shows later this year. So getting right into it, the first show that I'd like to see more characters from is WandaVision. This was obviously a great show, but unfortunately we only got 3 characters in minifigure form, that being the Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Monica Rambeau. And there are tons of more characters I'd like to see from this show, specifically the main one being Agatha Harkness. Now I thought this was a very big missed opportunity. First of all, I think there's a lack of villains in this entire CMF series to begin with. It's pretty much all heroes, and I think that's a little bit lame because there are a lot of cool villains in these Marvel TV series. Also, quick disclaimer, all the images that you're seeing right now on screen of these minifigures aren't my creations. They are made by a bunch of really talented creators on Instagram, so I'm going to go ahead and leave links in the description to their Instagram accounts and pages, so make sure to head over there and show them some support. Anyways, Agatha Harkness is the one that I'd really like to see from WandaVision. I think that was the main character that they really missed out on from this TV series. And a few other side characters I'd like to see as well, that being Ralph Boner. I think it'd be really cool to see his character, especially in his Halloween outfit where he's wearing that really cheesy Quicksilver outfit. I think that'd be a really cool CMF minifigure to get. Also, Tommy and Billy Maximoff, Wanda's kids. They would make for some really cool minifigures as well, and I'd also like to see them in their Halloween costumes. That way they aren't just wearing civilian clothing. And then lastly from WandaVision, just as a nice to have minifigure, it would be really cool to see a regular version of Vision. I know we just got White Vision and he's super detailed and looks absolutely amazing, although he's a little bit inaccurate. I would like to see that similar treatment except done on a regular variation of the Vision, so that being his green and purple outfit that we typically see him in. So from WandaVision, those are all the characters that came to my mind, at least the ones that I'd like to see in a CMF series. There are obviously tons of other characters in that show. I just think these characters would make for the most interesting minifigures. Next up, we got the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and from this, the main character that I'd like to see in this series, the one that I think LEGO missed out on in the current CMF series, is Baron Zemo. Again, just like Agatha Harkness, I think the CMF series is really lacking when it comes to villains, and I think Baron Zemo would have been a really interesting one to receive. I think his costume looks unique enough and would make for a really detailed minifigure, and I would also love to see this figure include 2 different heads, that being one with the mask and one without, kind of similar to what they did with the Zombie Hunter Spider-Man. Next up, and this one is kind of tied with Baron Zemo for me, is John Walker, aka the US Agent. Now there's 2 different outfits I'd like to see him in, that being his Captain America suit and his final US Agent suit as well. Receiving either of these minifigures in a CMF series would have been absolutely amazing. John Walker was probably my favorite part of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I absolutely love that show. It's my second favorite Marvel series so far, so I really did want this minifigure. It's unfortunate that LEGO didn't include him in the current CMF series. Again, they're just kind of lacking when it comes to villains. I think this minifigure would have been really easy to do because it would have been so similar to Captain America. You wouldn't have to make new molds or anything like that for this figure. It would have been the exact same as Captain America, just with different prints. So I think this would have been a really easy one that a lot of fans would have really appreciated. But you know, it's unfortunate we haven't seen him. Hopefully we see him in a series too. And then 2 other characters from the Falcon and Winter Soldier that I'd like to see in a CMF series too, but I think it would be a little bit unlikely if they did do this. That being Carly Morgenthau and Batroc. So Carly Morgenthau would be a pretty decent looking minifigure. The only really unique or cool part about that figure would just be your mask. I'm really curious as to how LEGO would approach that and make that in minifigure form. But other than that, she kind of just wears regular civilian clothing, so it wouldn't be that impressive of a minifigure. And then Batroc would look a little bit bland compared to most of these CMF minifigures that we've seen so far. But you know what, I still think it would have been cool to see him in minifigure form because we probably won't see him in any upcoming sets. But those are all the characters I could think of from the Falcon Winter Soldier that I'd like to see in a CMF series too. Obviously there are other ones like Sharon Carter and even Val, but I think those minifigures would look a little bit bland and they wouldn't really fit in when it comes to a CMF series. Alright, next up here we have my favorite Disney Plus series so far, that being Loki. So right off the bat, just like the other two shows, the main thing that they're missing here is the villain. And that villain is He Who Remains, aka Kang the Conqueror, aka Immortus. He honestly goes by a bunch of different names. The official version is He Who Remains, and this is obviously a character that I'd love to see in a series too. Now I can't really blame Leo for not including this character in the current CMF series that we have, just because Leo probably didn't even know he was going to be in this show. Disney is really uptight when it comes to these secrets and reveals, and Leo is usually working with concept art and outdated information, so there was probably no way of them knowing that He Who Remains would be in this show. So that is completely okay, but I'd still like to see him in a series too. I don't think he'd be a very detailed minifigure by any means, but I still think the character himself would just carry so much weight and value. Now there are a few other characters I'd like to see from Loki, the next one being Mobius. I get why Leo didn't include him in the current CMF series. His overall look is a little bit bland and just almost too civilian, so I get that, I completely understand, but this character really has become a fan favorite and I think tons of Leo fans would love to have him in minifigure form. And you know what, yes, Mobius would look pretty bland as a minifigure, it would just be a guy with a suit and tie, but I still don't think that would look more bland than Monica Rambeau. And you know what, if this minifigure is too bland, I think it'd be really cool if they included a Miss Minutes mini minifigure as well. Maybe make a new mold or do something similar to what we've seen with the Minion set. It could be anything. I just think it'd be a cool idea to have Mobius and Miss Minutes paired together in one blind bag. And there are a few other characters I'd like to see from Loki as well, that being classic Loki. I think that'd be a really cool minifigure to get. I know he was only in one episode, but he did leave a really big mark and I think his minifigure would look really cool. Getting a really retro style Loki would be a perfect fit for a CMF series. And getting other variations of Loki that we saw throughout that episode would be cool as well. Kind of like President Loki, I think that would make for a really cool CMF minifigure. And honestly, I don't think it's that unrealistic to expect these minifigures in a hypothetical series too. And then the last minifigure from Loki that I'd like to see is a TVA agent, specifically Hunter B-15. She became a really important character in the show, so getting her in minifigure form would be really cool to see. But I'd kind of hope they keep the prints on the torso and helmets and everything else kind of neutral without naming her as B-15. That way you could just swap out the heads if you have multiples of these and make your own army of TVA agents. I think that would be pretty cool for a CMF series, just because sometimes when it comes to these blind bags you get a bunch of the same character, so it would be pretty nice if you could just swap out these heads and make an army of TVA agents. There are obviously other characters like maybe Ravonna Renslayer, but I do think that minifigure would look a little bit bland and almost too civilian. I know Mobius would look kind of similar to that, I just think that Mobius has more appeal to fans than Ravonna Renslayer does. But you know what, getting her as a minifigure would be really cool as well. But that pretty much does it for the characters that I'd like to see from Loki. The next few minifigures here are based off of characters that are from shows that haven't aired yet, that being What If, Miss Marvel, and Hawkeye. So I think Leo has already kind of overkilled What If. My big main issue with this CMF series is that there are way too many characters from What If when there should be more characters from shows like WandaVision, The Falcon Winter Soldier, and Loki. But if I still had to pick two characters from What If that I'd like to see in minifigure form, I'd have to go with Zombie Iron Man and an evil Doctor Strange. I think those would make for some of the most interesting Marvel minifigures that we've ever seen. You could do so much when it comes to details and printing and even new molds. So I think those would be some really cool characters from What If. And then from Miss Marvel, we haven't really seen much, but I think it would be appropriate to expect a series 2 to include the main character of this show, that being Kamala Khan. We've already gotten a look at her Miss Marvel outfit, and I think getting a minifigure based off that suit would be pretty cool to get in a CMF series. And then lastly, from Hawkeye, there are 3 minifigures that I'd like to see, that being Clint Barton, Kate Bishop, and then the last one here is a little bit of a spoiler for Black Widow, so if you haven't seen that movie yet, make sure to go watch that first or just skip the next like 30 seconds of the video. That being Yelena Belova, who will be reappearing in Hawkeye. So I guess that pretty much does it for all the characters that I think Leo missed when it came to this first series from the Marvel CMF based on the current Disney Plus Marvel shows. I still think it's a really great CMF series, and I think it's really cool that we even got one to begin begin with, but I just think there are way too many what if minifigures, so getting a few characters like Agatha Harkness, Baron Zemo, US Agent, and Kang the Conqueror would be really cool to see in this CMF series. But you know what, hopefully we get a series 2 and we'll get to see a bunch of these characters included in that. I feel like I'm kind of forgetting a few characters from the TV shows, I just can't really think of them right now. But you know what, make sure to go down in the comments below and let me know what minifigures you would like to see in a LEGO Marvel CMF Series 2 based on the current Disney Plus TV series. Also, do you think there's a chance that LEGO will branch out from the current Disney Plus stuff and just give us a regular Marvel CMF series, maybe based off the comics or even just the regular MCU? Whatever you're thinking, guys, anything and everything, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. And also, if you guys haven't had a chance to enter the giveaway, make sure to do so. But that'll pretty much do for me, guys. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.